Okay, welcome to the Sports Coffee weekly sports chat, sponsored by InsureWise, our friends from the insurance brokers. Today we're lucky enough to have an international flavour to the show. We've got Dave Rogers, who is the head coach and technical director of FC Arizona. So, Dave, how are you?
Neil, I'm fine. Great to be here. Appreciate you having me on with Sports Coffee, and delighted to talk to you, my friend. A real pleasure.
Excellent. So, how long have you been with FC Arizona?
Yeah, I've been here now for about 17 months. It's strange how it all came about. I received a phone call from two of my ex-colleagues from the League of Ireland, Eamon Zaid and Lee Lynch. They'd been over here and spent some time at FC Arizona, and the owner at the time was looking for an experienced coach with, the credentials to grow the club on and off the field. So that's how it all began, to be honest.
Yeah. So it was, came out of the blue, really.
Yeah, it came out the blue. I mean, I've been International Academy manager for Liverpool, traveling the world, spending time in India, spending time all over Scandinavia and Europe, Asia. The job was fantastic. It took me to places that I could only dream of.
Sure.
And obviously being part of such a wonderful family and professional institution like Liverpool Football Club gave me such experience, knowledge, and a real hunger to keep developing, not only as a coach but as a person.
Yeah. No, I would imagine. It's looking at your CV. To have Liverpool Academy on your CV must obviously opens doors for you. I want to go back to your playing career before we sort of touch on what you're doing now and what you've done previously. So you were a pro for about 16 years, is that right?
Yeah, again, you're talking about working for Liverpool, but if we go back, strip it right back to the beginning, I'm born and bred from Walton in Liverpool.
Yeah.
I'm a mad Everton fan.
Okay.
Born and bred Blue Nose, family. And I was actually a schoolboy with Everton, Neil, for 8-9 years.
Sure.
That was the dream, obviously the boyhood dreams that, can you go through and play for the team that you support and the team that you love? It wasn't meant to be. And it could have gone either way. It could have gone, did I, take it as a negative and sort of react in a bad way when I was released by Everton? But I didn't. I just, brushed myself down and had a good support family behind me, my father, my mother, and good scouts that I could, turn back to and ask for advice. And I ended up, from going from Everton, going to Tranmere Rovers.
Yeah.
Phenomenal, great club. Had a real tradition of bringing through academy players and, provided that pathway for players to get into the first team. Some great local players, Kenny Irons, Jed Brannan, Tony Thomas, Sean Garnett, Dave Challoner, my own cousin, Alan Rogers, who he went on to be a Nottingham Forest, legend. And so it was a real good move for me at that time because it gave me the ground and the grounding with good people around me to give me that appetite to have the vision to sort of come through a pathway.
No, definitely. And then obviously you moved on from Tranmere and you had numerous clubs, but you seem to go over to Ireland and have quite a successful time.
Yeah, look, and again, I probably look at it, and some people will look at me sort of profile and call me a bit of a journeyman, and that's rightly so. But it wasn't just that case. There was times where I'd be at a club where, I wasn't happy to sit in the stands if I wasn't playing. I wasn't one of these players that would, happily take a wage. I wanted to play. And if that meant going on loan somewhere 2 or 3 times a year to get that experience and to keep that momentum going, that was in my personality. I just didn't want to sit down, and especially when you come to a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, have a weekend off. So it does look like I've been at a lot of places, and rightly so. But I just wanted to play. For me, it was about, experience, gaining momentum, and just being out there playing and doing what I love to do.
No, and like you say, just because you've had a list of clubs, then it doesn't mean that you didn't learn from it and you didn't gain great experience and meet lots of different people and from today you probably you've taken on board opportunities from coaches and other players, and that how they play and how they hold themselves in the game, I guess.
Yeah.
Going from on that, just a few probably standard questions, is who would you say was the biggest influence on your sort of your playing career before you went into your coaching?
Well, to be honest, I'm going to say my dad. My dad was always the one that was, we'd come home from work when I was a young kid in Liverpool. He'd have his dinner. He'd take me around a local park, Walton Hall Park. He'd have me practicing with my left foot, my right foot. He'd have me heading balls. So he was always there for me.
Yeah.
Even in between training at Belfield with Everton 2 or 3 nights a week, and then obviously even at Tranmere, he was my biggest critique.
Yeah.
He'd tell me home truths. He'd tell me stuff that sometimes you might not want to hear.
No.
It's important to hear those things, Neil. It's the only way you're going to progress. It's the only way you're going to develop. It's the only way you're going to grow. Not just as a sports person, but as a human being. So I hold my dad in such high esteem, and thank God he's still with us at this day. And I've not seen him for 15 months, obviously with the COVID, but
Sure, yeah.
he's still fighting fit and still living. And another person who was massive for me was Warwick Rimmer. Warwick was the youth development officer at Tranmere.
Okay.
And he was just an absolute gentleman. He was a real pleasant, wonderful person, and he got the best out of players. And if I revert back to the names that I mentioned that came through the system at Tranmere, they were all down to Warwick. I mean, you could go through years and years of players that Warwick Rimmer really brought through, but it wasn't just his quality as a coach; it was his ambience, his personality, and his characteristics as a person. I really warmed to him. He was a real people person. So yeah, my father and Warwick Rimmer during my young ages were real influences and real people that I really looked up to, and really put me on a pedestal to try and go and achieve what I achieved as a footballer.
So what was Warwick's role at Tranmere? Was he a coach, or was he? Did you say development officer?
Yeah, so back in those days when I was coming through, you didn't have an academy manager, an academy director. He was the youth development officer. He was the head of youth.
Right, okay.
But his knowledge of the game, Neil, his attention to detail was absolutely phenomenal. And I'm going back, 27 years, 28 years when I was only 15, 16, but the way he was meticulous with his training sessions, everything was with a ball, everything was geared and game related to how he wanted you to play for the A and B team at weekends. But just as a person, I don't think there'd be many people out there that would have a bad word to say about Warwick. He was just a really big influence, even, up until about, I haven't spoken to him for a long time, but coming to the end of my career, 9-10 years ago, the advice that was still there, still at the end of a telephone call. And each time I've ever gone back to watch a game at Prenton Park, he'd give you a hug and, always asking how you are and how the family are, and just a real lovely man who played a big part in my career as a footballer.
And that's speaking to other sports people, and there is always somebody behind the scenes that people don't necessarily see, is a massive influence on their footballing journey or their sports journey. So yeah, it's great. It's great that there's people in the business that make that much of a impact on people's lives.
Absolutely.
So that's superb. Your biggest achievement as a player is what would you say that would be?
The biggest achievement, Neil, I would have to say, is winning my league titles. Because I think when people sort of strip it back, it's great to win a cup. It's great to win a cup over 6 to 8 games, or it's great to win a one-off game. Let's say that means it could be a playoff game, but for me, I think when you win a league title, you do it over the year.
Yeah.
So for me, I was lucky enough and privileged enough to win 4 league titles. I won the Scottish First Division Championship with Dundee.
Yeah.
We had a fantastic squad there, great players, another great city, a working class city that I still have a lot of time for, and a lot of good friends. And then obviously with Shelbourne in the League of Ireland, Premier League, I won 3 league titles. And again, it was phenomenal, because each one that you win has a different sort of feeling to it. I remember our manager, Pat Fenlon, who again has gone on to achieve great things as a manager, really good person. but he'd come in on the first day of pre-season training, and he'd put the championship trophy in the middle of the dressing room, and he'd say, guys, I want this back in the cabinet at the end of the year. So from the first day of pre-season, we knew our remit, we knew our target, we knew that our focus was to go and retain or win the league championship. So it was, for me, they were the most precious times of my football career, because the atmosphere, that, you know, everybody's out to beat you. When you're at the top, they want to knock you off every game, and you've got to make sure that you're well ahead of the battle that you've got in front of you. You've got to win your battle first, and, you know, the quality will come through. And in both of them teams, Neil, Dundee and Shelbourne, I was playing alongside some fantastic footballers. If I go back to Dundee, you know, we had Eddie Annand, we had James Grady, Rab Douglas, who went on to play in goal for Celtic, Brian Irvine played for Scotland and Aberdeen, Tommy Coyne, Willie Falconer, Claudio Caniggia came just towards the end of my period at Dundee. So it was one of them clubs that was growing, and great fan base. And then when I go back to Ireland with Shelbourne, Wes Hoolahan, who had a phenomenal career with Norwich City, his talent was just unbelievable. Creativity, you know, calmness personified. Alan Moore, who played at Burnley for many years, played at Middlesbrough. Jason Byrne, who played for Cardiff City. Really, really good players and good people that really showed me that when you're with a team that has team spirit, togetherness, and a work ethic, anything's possible. So they are two of the big moments that I look back on and really proud and enjoy it.
Yeah, and you can cherish those for the rest of your life. So nobody can take that away from you as well, which is, you know, it's a really good achievement. So touching on, you know, from your playing days, when did you, or if you did, decide that the coaching route was something that you wanted to sort of get into, or did you fall into, you know, I've spoken to other people and it's been, I just fell into it. I didn't really look to do it. And others have said, oh no, I realised that's what I wanted to do before the end of my sort of playing career.
Do you know what, Neil? It's funny, because I've been asked this question before, and I always give the same answer. I always wanted to go into management and coaching. It was always something that I really wanted to get my teeth into and do it the right way, and not just be one of these ex-professional players that thinks they have a divine right to get a job out of football. And I always wanted to go right back to the beginning and do what I'd done as a footballer, which was start at the bottom and work your way through. But one of the main things that sort of, you know, captured me, I was playing for Dundee, and it was 1997, and the manager at the time, he was a guy called John McCormack, real tough, brazen Scotsman. You know, he had a presence, his voice was deep. If he told you to do something, you do it, you know, but at the same time, he had a real personal touch to his character. And the big thing for me was, he called me into his office one day after training. The assistant manager came to me and said, Scouts, the gaffer wants to see you. Now, when John McCormack wants to see you, it's either two things: you've done something wrong, or you've done something wrong. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm sitting outside his office, and I'm thinking, oh, what have I done? Have I said something wrong? Have I done something in training? Done something off the field? He calls me into his office, and he says, call me Buck Rogers. That was my nickname at Dundee. He says, Buck, sit down. So I'm sitting down like I am facing you now, and he looks at me and he says, are you enjoying it here? And I'm like, yeah, Gaffer, I love it. I love being in the city. I love the club. He said, okay. He picks up the telephone and he asks me for my parents' number back in Liverpool. So I'm like, well, something's not right here. I'm in trouble. He wants to speak to my parents, and he dials the number. He gets through to my father. And what he said after that really stuck with me, and it still does to this day, that he actually said to my father that I was a credit to the city of Liverpool and a credit to the family for the way I conduct myself with Dundee Football Club. And I was shocked, because this guy was the guy that we had a little bit of fear of. You know, like I said, his presence, his personality, he was strong. He was a winner. But I seen a different side to John McCormack that day when he called me in and really praised me for my manners, my respect, my professionalism, my work ethic. And that all boils down to my upbringing from my parents in Liverpool. And I just, from that moment on, I just thought, as a person, people will forget what you tell them and forget what you show them, but they'll never forget how you treat them.
Yeah.
And John McCormack that day made me feel 100 foot tall. When I walked out of his office, I felt really proud, appreciated, and just he left a real mark on me. So I've took them kind of things into my coaching career and always try to treat the person first and foremost and the athlete second. So that's a story where I really got the full desire to go on and try and give people opportunities in life, especially within football.
So Dave, what was your first opportunity to coach as a in a team environment?
Again, Neil, I retired at the age of 36. I was, the mind was saying yeah, and the body was saying no. So at 36 years of age, it was like, that's it, time's up. But what I'd done, if I could turn back the clock, I'd have started my coaching qualifications in my early 30s. And it's something I still wish I'd have done. But no looking back, looking forward, retired at 36. I didn't even have a UEFA B license. So I made a set goal then of, for me to become the best possible coach I can, I need to be active. I've got to be out there. It's no good looking at television screens or reading books. You've got to be on the field. You've got to be learning from your mistakes. And the only way to do that is to coach. So I set up my own little soccer academy, little football academy in Ireland for all local kids where we live in Dundalk. My wife's from Ireland, obviously. So I set up this little academy and we were charging players €5 a session. That was paying for the fields and the floodlights. And I'd say after about 6 weeks, I had about 80 players, girls and boys. And it was just phenomenal. It was me giving back to the game that has been so good to me. But it was also the beginning of my coaching journey. Because like I said, I never expected as an ex-player to walk straight into a job. I don't have experience as a coach. I've experience as a player. And I can use examples and situations and paint pictures, but I needed to be on the ground and be active and learn my new profession. That's where it began.
Okay, so how did obviously living in Liverpool and obviously being part of a massive footballing city, how did the opportunity to become part of the Liverpool Academy come about?
Well, again, if I go back to that was the beginning of my coaching pathway. Starting my own little academy, which was just amazing. And then beginning my UEFA B license with the FAI in Ireland. And literally the day I passed my UEFA B, I'd already put my CV into Liverpool International Academy because I knew there was some opportunities there. And I've some good friends who've worked at Liverpool all over the years. Mike Yates being one of them. Mike played at Dundee with me. He's been in the Liverpool Academy for over 20 years. He'd always said to me, put your CV in. We need more coaches. We need more people from Liverpool to get involved with the club. But he said, you've got to get your badges. Go and work and get your badges. So qualified my UEFA B. The very next day, I get a phone call to go and have an interview with Liverpool and, put a session on. The butterflies came. The nerves were there. But I have to say, from the minute I walked in the door at Anfield, the welcome, the appreciation, the way Liverpool do things as a club from top to bottom, phenomenal. It blew me away. And from then, I literally became a lead coach at the International Academy department, traveling to, like I said, Scandinavia, traveling all over the world. And I'd only been there for 3 months. I got another phone call. They called me in and I was offered the International Academy manager's job for the full-time academy in India. And that's where it all just started to unravel and really put me in the position where I am today.
Yeah. So you went on to, obviously with that experience, you went, like you say, you had spells in India with a club and the international team.
Yeah. So what it was, so Liverpool International Academy in India, it was the only full-time residential academy from any of the top flight clubs throughout the world at that time.
Sure.
And for me to be offered that position and to be trusted and to have Liverpool Football Club trust me to go and take the brand and the product and the development program was amazing. It was just a dream come true. But the facilities we had in India, second to none. Okay. We had 65 full-time academy players, but we were also in partnership with a professional I-League club called DSK Shivajians. So it was my job to develop the players from the Liverpool Academy and create that pathway and pass them on to the manager of the SK Shivajians, and also try and get as many players into the national team. Once I got over there, everything just sort of progressed, and I eventually became the manager of the SK Shivajians, which was my first step into management. But the owner believed in the vision that we had as Liverpool, and that I have as a coach, is that there's no better feeling than developing your own players through your system and watching them play first team football. And in the first year, we signed 14 academy products under my leadership, and I played 7 or 8 players regularly every week, first team football. So it was, for me and the staff, that was what it was all about. It was creating that opportunity, believing in your players, trusting them, and having faith and patience in them. You know, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to, you know, give away a goal. They're going to miss opportunities to score. Doesn't matter. If you can persevere, you know, and keep giving them the belief and keep giving them the confidence, things come good. And I have to say, during my 6 years in India, I think we had over 40 players went on to play internationally. Wow. The Indian national team, all the way down to the U17. So phenomenal success.
Brilliant. So is that where, so from Liverpool or from India, the link with India, is that where you then became to where you are now? Yeah.
So again, what happened when I took the job, I signed a 3-year contract with the SK Shivajians as manager. So I stepped away from the academy. We brought in another head coach for the Liverpool Academy, but I was still, you know, technical director, still overseeing the whole program.
Sure.
And unfortunately, the club went bankrupt after 12 months, which was terrible. It's the most emotional, challenging, and mentally sort of period of my life that I've ever had to go through. Neil, when you sign players as a manager, they put their trust in you. They bring their families over, and you're giving them this dream and this ambition of, you know, where you want to take the club and how you're going to look after them. To see the way my players were devastated on a daily basis. We ended up going 8 months without being paid.
Wow.
And to this day, I still owe everything to that group of players and the staff, because we had meeting after meeting, and they decided to stick by me. The staff, we stuck by each other. We still went on to finish 6th in the league. We won a cup, and 6 extra players got selected for the Indian national team. And that was all without being paid for 8 months. But the stress, like I said, the mental toughness that we had to show, the emotion, because my family were back in Ireland. It was tough, but I tell you what, it's made me into the person I am today. Sure, no coaching qualification can put you in any way, shape or form preparation to deal with something like that. And any manager or coach that has to go through that, I know what they're going through. It's tough, but I'm happy we came through on the other side.
No, it's you know, it's obviously something that nobody wants to go through, and obviously outside of you know, football, it does happen, and you know, but like you say, these things happen, and it's how you react to those scenarios. And obviously you come through the other side, and you've now landed yourself on paper. To me, looks like an amazing opportunity. So what are the plans with FC Arizona? What are, you know, what going forward? It's only been going for, it's quite a new club, isn't it? It's been going for about 4 years.
Yeah, so the club's about 4 years old, but they were under old ownership when I arrived. They never had a youth academy. They never had any youth structure. They didn't have any community or recreation programs or grassroots. So that was my sort of, the challenge for me when I took the job was, can we grow this club within the community? Can we create pathways for local players? You know, can we really get a vibrant youth academy going where we don't just care about winning? Obviously, creating a winning mentality is different from focusing on just win at all costs. I'm a big believer in, you know, it doesn't matter what level a player is at. If you can make that player 5% better at technique, tactical, you know, enthusiasm, enjoyment, that's like winning a trophy. So that's a sort of culture I'm trying to inbred within the club, is that to the coaches and to all the staff, that we want to be able to give people opportunities. So the old ownership sold the club to a new owner. The new owner, sat down with me, says, Dave, what's your plans? I told him the plans, the vision, how I believe we can develop, like I said, not just athletes, but people.
Yeah.
And we've now got the first team. We've got our under-23 development squad. We've got our women's professional team, and we've got a full structured academy from our youth development phase into our foundation phase, pre-development phase, and our grassroots and recreational program. So it's just gone from strength to strength, Neil.
So that's an umbrella. That's an umbrella of the whole club. So it's all every so like a 5-year-old playing in the grassroots plays for FC Arizona, and then just depending on their levels and their ability, they move up into the levels.
Absolutely. Right? We've now created that pathway where we're focusing on our younger age players and saying how many of these players can we have in our women's team and our men's team over the next 5, 7, 10 years. We brought in a curriculum, and look, football's a simple game, Neil. I try not to complicate things. I think if you show simplicity and effectivity, you'll get rewards. You'll get everything will come to fruition. So, but again, as a coach, it's important to evolve. The game evolves. We have to evolve with it. Obviously, doing my pro license really opened my eyes onto what the game has to offer. Yeah. Not everybody might, and listen, it's all about opinions. You don't have to agree with everything, but I always feel there's definitely something and little ingredients that you can take away from every little opportunity, from every sort of presentation that you see, from every webinar that you look at, from every session that you go and view, game that you view. You might not agree with everything, but I still believe you can take little things and sort of build it into your own character, your own personality, and your own style.
Sure. So, do you have a philosophy of so playing style? Do you have a philosophy where each team in more of your elite level, I guess, do they play the same systems, or is it very much a flexible? Do your coaches have the flexibility to play different formats and formations, should I speak?
Yeah, so what we do from the first team to the 23 team, and obviously the women's team down to the U16s, we play a 1-4-3-3 formation. We play aggressive pressure, we press in the front, and we try and win the ball back as high up the field as we can. So we've created that style for them age groups. Anywhere below that, we encourage the coaches to use the players at your disposal. Whatever player you've got, whatever group you've got, the system or formation might not suit them players. So we encourage the coaches to think outside the box, to be proactive. There's no micromanagement. It's literally whatever group of players you've got, play to their strengths. Yeah. And if that means changing things, so be it. There's no right or wrong, Neil. No. But once they obviously get to a certain age, then we expect that sort of club philosophy to fall into place. But anything below that, go and let them express themselves, go and enjoy themselves, play with no fear, and just make sure that it's complete encouragement and creating that environment so our players can't wait to come back to the next training session.
No, definitely, and I think like you say, to a certain age, they need to understand formations as well, don't they? So if there's not one way to play, but but when they get to a certain age, they know this is the way the team plays. They get used to that system. They know how to play that system, even if they're playing in different positions. They know how the system works for the club and how it's going to progress. So no, I think that's it's a really good way of molding a philosophy, really. A couple of questions that we've got. I always ask on our social media to see if anybody comes up with some questions. We've got a couple of questions from our social media this morning, which I've put on the chat. I don't know if you can see them, Dave, but the first one is, what is the most important qualities as a coach? So your view on what the qualities are. You've probably touched a little bit on that when we were talking earlier, but can you think of one just for the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Neil, I did touch on it already, but it's treating the person as a human being.
Mm.
You know, you can have all the coaching qualifications that you have, you can have all the experience that you have. It counts for nothing if you can't have a relationship with the people you're coaching. So for me, people skills is first and foremost the most important thing for me. It isn't for me as a coach anyway, but even as a person, you know, once you can build up that relationship, once you've got the trust of the player, you know, I always like to know what's going on with my players, their lives, you know, how's their family, you know, how are they feeling, any problems, the door's always open. That's the biggest skill set for me, is that can you relate with the person first and foremost? And I feel when you get to that stage, that person then will just run through a brick wall for you, because you've shown them the trust, you've built up that camaraderie, and they know that they can rely on you. So for me, it's all about you know, treat the person first and the athlete second.
No, definitely. So the second guest question we got through today was also, how do you know you're doing an effective job? So I guess from FC Arizona, do they have put measures in to prove, you know, the success or the development of the club going forward? I guess because it's early stages.
Yeah, look, I think from us with this club, we always ask for feedback. We ask for feedback from parents, we ask for feedback from coaches, players. I mean, we have a lot of, you know, one-on-ones with our coaching staff, you know, with regular contact, regular communication. We also make sure the parents are well involved, especially within the academy. I think it's important at any football club, any criticism is a positive. And, you know, sometimes people don't like to hear the negative, they just want to hear the good.
Yeah.
But you've also got to take, you know, take the negatives as a positive as well. So for me and FC Arizona, we throw little surveys out to the parents every now and again. Anything you think we can improve on as a club, anything the coaches might be able to improve on. How was this tournament? You know, what do you think about the training kit, the facilities? You've got to open up to people. And I think it's a really good way to gauge feedback. And as a group of staff then, and as a club, you know, you can analyse it and say, okay, we might need to affect this a little bit more, or we might need to look at this in a different way and try and attack things, you know, in ways that can always improve. I always tell the coaches as well, you know, come to me, give me feedback, be open and honest, and always take it as a positive. There should never be a negative. It's always there to help grow on the field and off the field.
No, that's great, and I appreciate you answering the questions, which are obviously a bit ad hoc, and you know we don't know until this morning that we had them. So I'd like to wrap it up there, Dave. I've really enjoyed your insight into your career, really, and you know, and your playing career and your coaching career. You know, I really hope that FC Arizona project is a real success. You know, and it grows, and you get what you want out of it. We'll keep following you on the Sports Coffee and seeing how you're getting on, and you know, we'll tweet and retweet things which you put out there for, you know, for the world of the social media. So I just like to say I appreciate the time you've given us just to have an insight into your coaching life. You know, I really appreciate the time, and hopefully we'll speak again when you've won a few trophies down the line, and you can show us some in the background. But yeah, it's been a great half an hour or so just to get to know you, Dave, and hopefully, like I say, we'll speak again soon. So that was Dave Rogers. We'll be putting this interview on our YouTube channel. It will probably be during February half term, so in about a week's time. So we'll put it onto our Twitter and our Facebook pages so people will know when it is, and then go and you can subscribe free to the Sports Coffee YouTube channel, or you can just watch it online as well. So all the best, Dave, and thanks again for coming on and talking to us.
Neil, thank you very much, and best of luck with Sports Coffee. It's a great show that you're bringing to everyone, and everyone out there, keep doing the good work and stay safe. Thanks very much, mate.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Neil.